guys, and welcome back to the Nourishing Routes channel. I'd like to start this channel by really questioning whether the food we eat is just about nutrition and health. Should we really just be viewing food as a bundle of calories and nutrients? Well, to firstly question this, I'd like to challenge you by asking you whether, when you look at a plate of food, do you think about calories? Do you think about its nutritional content and how it's going to add to the value of your physical health? Or do you look at food and think, wow, that really adds to my sense of identity, my cultural experiences, my enjoyment, and the time that I'm spending with another person? Well, to sum up that little scenario, I'd like to invite you to change your view of nutrition and change your view of food. I know that might sound a little bit weird to say, but I think in our society we're told all the time that we should be losing weight, we should be eating foods with so many calories in them or less calories in them, or that we should be incorporating more superfoods into our life. I mean, what new year doesn't come around without a new superfood coming on the trend? Also, no new year is complete without some new faddy diet coming on the scene, telling us how we should be eating or how we should not be eating. For me, this is a really disordered way of viewing food. Mainly because I've seen so many people, including myself, really triggered by how the diet industry promotes how we should and shouldn't be eating, and showing us that the real way to health should be just about food and the nutrients it contains. But if I look at this from a positive psychology perspective and my own personal experiences, food is never just about fuel. In fact, we're all really complex social beings, so when we sit down for a meal, our bodies are not just weighing up what physical nutrients are going inside our bodies, it's looking at the experience as a whole. For example, what does eating chips symbolise to you? Does it mean that, oh my gosh, I can't eat chips because they've been fried in fat and loads of oil? Or does it symbolise childhood memories of maybe walking along the beach with your grandparents and parents, eating chips while enjoying a day out? We can't simply neglect that food has a deep connection with our culture and with our memories. But the diet industry doesn't seem to connect those things. In fact, it tells us if we simply had a perfect meal plan and a perfect way of eating and a perfect way of losing weight, then we'll be happy. Then we could accept ourselves, and then we could finally become who we want to be. But that is one of the biggest lies that I've ever heard. In fact, once you start to realise that food is more than nutrition, it's more than calories, and it's more than fuel, then you can start to develop a more loving relationship with it. There's nothing worse than eating a meal or one of your favourite foods and then feeling guilty and ashamed afterwards. It's completely unnecessary, but so many people suffer and judge what they eat negatively. They judge their self-worth based on what or what they don't put into their bodies. For me, this is really upsetting because for a long time I had such a negative relationship with food that revolved around those very things. I would only eat things if they were unprocessed, out of a packet, and also things that were organic and joy-free really. I would only eat things if they had a certain amount of calories in, and going to eat something that didn't have the calorie content on its label would be absolutely anxiety provoking. Even though I've overcome those issues now though, I see people on a weekly basis, and sometimes even every day, judging calorie packets in the food aisles. I can see them mentally exhausted, weighing up whether they should eat that food or not. I'm sure somewhere in the brain is telling them that, you do deserve to eat what you want. You do deserve to find a way of eating that really fills you with joy and is part of your culture, your identity, and social connection with others. Food is not just about how big or slim you can become, or how healthy it will make your insides. We have to remember that sometimes health with food can come from the way that we relate to it. In fact, there is a little bit of research and my own understanding that shows that when we feel guilty around food and when we negatively judge it, then that evokes a stressful response in the body. That in itself can have havoc with our metabolism and even lead to weight gain. I'm not saying that weight gain is bad, because of course everything in moderation is fine, and weight is not the be-all and end of our health and well-being. However, we have to understand the mind and our body connection. Food can't simply be about numbers. It can't simply be about nutritional quantities, because we are complex social beings who crave social connection, who crave to be in line with our culture, and who crave to have a sense of identity with food. For me, my food intake sometimes revolves around going to my favourite cafe, buying my favourite biscuits, or even making them and dipping them in. Sometimes it involves a night time, buying in my favourite chocolates, again probably dipping them in tea, and then also taking time to relax. I identify food as being in line with myself, my place, and how I want to feel. It's not about just my health in terms of physical need, it's in terms of enjoyment and realising that I do deserve to feel that joy. Of course, I do understand that food can sometimes be used as an emotional coping tool. For many of us, we can eat too much or too little based on how we are feeling for that day. Those are not necessarily wrong things, because again, as we're complex social creatures, we use food for more than just fuel. However, we can be compassionate enough to identify when we can use food as a negative coping tool, and instead try to find other more compassionate techniques to cope, such as taking more time to relax and be yourself rather than trying to meet other people's expectations and going through your life 100 miles an hour. Those things are simply not healthy. So on that note, I invite you to look at food as more than just calories. In fact, it's your identity. I want you to know that food shouldn't be something to feel guilty about, or to weigh up on a scale, or to even calculate so viciously that you feel bad about yourself. I want to help you to develop a lifelong positive relationship with food, and that also links into the positive relationship you develop with your body. Once you realise that you can connect your mind and body, and realise that you're a whole amazing person regardless of what you do or do not eat, that's when we can start becoming who we were born to be, and that's when we can start to unleash our compassion into the world as well as towards ourselves, while also enjoying much of our favourite foods along the way. So on that note, I'll sum up by saying food is more than just fuel. Fuel is joy and fuel is life. And I want you to know in your heart that you have permission to enjoy the foods you love every day and every hour if need be. So hopefully I'll have more videos on how you can develop a positive relationship with food and view it more than just fuel. These will be coming up in the near future. But in the meantime, until those videos arise, or my next video, you can simply check out my website at www.nourishingroutes.com or comment below and subscribe to this channel. Perhaps you might want to comment on what your own relationship with food is like and what your views are on counting calories. I'd really like to hear them, because it would add so much value to an interesting conversation that we could maybe create into another video. So, thanks for listening, and I really look forward to seeing you soon, and have a fab week in the meantime. Bye!